Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Roar Report podcast. I'm Gordon Porritt. I'm a senior psychology major. I'm from Maryland originally.
Hey, I'm Abby Duncan. I'm a junior communication major, film minor, and I'm from Lexington, South Carolina.
Hi, I'm Mackenzie Osher. I'm a senior comm major. I am a psych minor and I'm from West Palm Beach, Florida.
Hey, I'm Jake Whitener. I'm a junior. I'm a marketing major and a sports comm minor, and I'm from Columbia, South Carolina.
What's up? I'm Jake Troisi. I'm a junior business management major with a sports comm minor, and I'm from Mountain Lakes, New Jersey.
Awesome. Today, we're talking about social media and sports journalism with our special guest, Cody Satzger. Cody works with athletics with Clemson, and he specifically works with the video team. And yeah, let's get this thing started. So, Cody, tell me a little bit about yourself. What's your major? What's your year? Where are you from?
Hi, yeah, I'm Cody Satzger. I'm a local. I've lived here for a long time. I'm a senior world cinema major at Clemson, which is also just a fancy way of saying a film major. So yeah.
And what made you choose Clemson? Like, I know you said you're local, so I'm sure you have a little to hit home, kind of some.
Yeah. So my mom went here. She went to school here back in the 80s, and then her uncles followed, and everyone found their, spouses here, and it's, it's deep in the blood, Clemson. And I moved here when I was 7, and I've always been a fan of Clemson, and I've always loved it. And I wasn't always planning on coming here, but the longer I lived in the town and just, you know, around the people and everything, I just knew I had to come here. So, yeah.
That's awesome. That's a genuinely a good story, I have to say. What can you give me like your official description of your job with Clemson?
Yeah. So, my job, there's not like one specific thing that I do. I mean, you can, you know, the way it works is you kind of choose ahead of time, but I work for the Clemson Sports Broadcasting Department, which is under the banner of the ACC network, which is under the banner of ESPN. And we're located right out by Jervey Gym by Little John. And I mean, there's numerous positions that I do there. So like ahead of time, they'll release monthly schedules of games, and you pick which games you want to go to, and then it's anything from camera work, which is the basic stuff. You handle a $250,000 camera rig, which is a lot of pressure when you have people in your ear,
I
and
can
they're yelling at
imagine.
you, and you don't want to, have to pay for that.
Hmm.
But there's that, and then there's the shading room where you make sure that what you're seeing. So if you're watching a game on TV, like a Clemson game, and it starts getting really bright or really dim, and you're like, why is it looking like that? Someone in shading is screwing up.
Mm.
Um, there's replay, and then there's this the main control room where the director is and where they're saying, cut here, cut there. So there's all sorts of jobs you can do. You don't really have anything one specifically that you do, but you can
Yeah.
say what you want to do ahead of time.
You're wearing a lot of hats, it sounds like.
Yes,
Mm.
I
indeed.
work in athletics too. We're also in Derby, with Creative Solutions, so we're like right across the hall from you guys.
Oh
But
yeah.
I was wondering, like, do you work with all sports, or is there just like one certain sport you work with, or like a variety of stuff?
You work with every sport. You work with every sport, and you can kind of pick what games for what sports you want to do work for, and they all kind of, you handle them a little differently because some are more intense and some are, more low key. But yeah, covers every sport. Football as well. I never work football games because I want to go to those in person. But yeah, that you everything you can imagine, we cover it.
Yeah, Cody. So it sounds like you do a bunch with like video editing, broadcasting, working with different sports teams. I was just kind of wondering what your weekly schedule looks like as an employee of Clemson Athletics?
Yeah. So what's really great about the job is that it's made of a lot of student employees. And so they know that going into it. And what they do is they have like, some higher up guys, some grown dudes who've been working there for a long time, and they'll cycle in, lots of fresh faces, lots of student employees. And the way that works is they'll have you, like I said before, they'll release a schedule, months in advance, like 2 months in advance of all the games listed and events too. It's not just games all the time. There'll be like a signing day or something like that. And you, based on your schedule, when you have classes or things like that, you can pick the specific days that work best for you, those specific games and events, which is really nice. It's really good. And because also sometimes, things can come up and, they're really accommodating to that as long as you reach out ahead of time as well. But for me, usually, just based on my own schedule, um, I'll try to work Fridays, Sundays, um, sometimes Wednesdays as well. And yeah, but it varies week to week. But that's, it's a semester by semester type of basis, but that's how it is for me.
Cool. And just like one quick follow-up, would you say you do more video editing or sort of broadcasting, like along those lines?
It's more of the broadcasting side of things.
Okay.
More of the broadcasting side, yeah. Um Video editing, that's more, and I've not dipped my toe into this.
Yeah, that's what we do. We do the video editing side of it, the people
Right,
I
yeah,
work with.
right. I couldn't tell you about that, but you know.
Hey Cody, it's other Jake. So with basketball season kind of in middle of the season, and the men's team's doing fantastic right now, and then you got the women's team as well. We're just kind of wondering, what does a basketball game day look like, in terms of what you got to do, what does your schedule look at like, and then just any details you can give us about basketball game day.
Yeah, I definitely can. So I mean, with every event, every sporting event, there's a call time 3 hours in advance. So there's a game at 7, you show up at 4, and that is to allow time to, set everything up, make sure everything's perfectly in place just before a game is ready to go. So we'll show up. There will be people, like if I was in shading, I'm in this massive room looking at a bunch of screens, and I'm looking at the court, and I'm trying to make sure that the lighting and the colors on the court, all the oranges and the purples and everything, are the perfect matching colors across the board. Because then, that's what gets broadcasted on your TV. And if it doesn't match when they cut angles, that looks weird. So shading, they'll be setting that up. Cameras, basketball is usually like a 5 camera setup. So you'll have like one kind of master cam kind of looking down on the court, then a second big camera kind of beside that will do more tracking back and forth between, the left and right side. Um, you'll have, two handheld guys down on the court trying to get those nice shots, like if someone gets posterized or something like that, you wanna be able to capture that. And you have utility guys down there helping with all the cables, making sure that runs smoothly. You also have like, people building graphics packages. And so if there's a star athlete, like you have, Shefflin, and you want to see all of his stats. Like there are people beforehand in the games, like building those, and there's like big pop-ups, and you see his face and all of that, like designing those beforehand in the game. Uh, and then you have like, the people working for the ACC networks talking to the cameras, they're giving their whole rundown of like setting up the game. They already record that before the game even starts. So, you'll hear that when you see a game on TV, like you hear them speaking and kind of giving that setup. They already do that in advance. So, and they're out down on court just kind of talking and doing that as well. What else? I mean, yeah, and they want to make sure as well when fans start coming in, you want to zoom in on like this the that baby laughing and dancing right there, and zoom in on that guy who has that crazy hat on jumping up and down. Like they want to get all that footage in because that's also the stuff they show on TV on the you know to set it up, set up those uh kind of build the storyline of the game, if you will. So yeah, that's some of it. There's more, but yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Real quick, what's your favorite pregame task that you have to do?
Favorite pregame task. I would say, well, building the cameras is not. It's fun with people when you're just because you're kind of just fooling around when you're like building there's a lot of components to the camera. Like I said, it's a very expensive camera rig, and so you haul out these boxes full of equipment, and then you like build the cameras and assemble them, and you're just kind of fooling around before the game starts, and that's fun. The moving itself is not, but just kind of like the camaraderie of that is enjoyable. It's not enjoyable when like, a cable goes loose and then you can't see anything through the camera and then you have someone screaming in your ear like, why the hell can we see through camera two right now? And you're getting cussing up a storm in your ear, whatever. But I mean, I will say when things get busy, that's when I do shading because it's a quiet, dark room. And you can, before the game, you just make sure everything looks good on the screens and then you just get to work. And I like in that room being able to, um, because when people zoom in and out and you're outside or whatever, you have to change the lighting a lot and shading. And I like, finding footage of fans before the game doing fun stuff. That's always a treat to watch. So,
Do you think
Yeah.
when they zoom in on the fans and like all the little babies and pretty much everything that builds a story, like you were saying, is that a key part to the college experience of basketball, or is that in general just something all sport media does?
yeah, I mean, I think all sport media, they want to show the fan. I think fans in general are just a key component to every sporting event. You want to see the fans. The fans, without the fans, it's like you're missing kind of the heart of it. The athletes are out there, and they're kind of there for the fans. The fans are what drives sports in general. I'd say the main difference are the student fans, which drive that college experience like you were asking about. Because they are like the beating heart those of these college games. It's a little different. It's a little
Yeah.
different. You watch like an NBA game and there's fans, and sure, that's how it is. But when you see like a student section get riled up, like representing their school, you do really want to get the student section a lot. That's a major thing as well because they're doing the most out of anyone there. They're almost like a part of the team. So yeah.
Even outside of like broadcasting and stuff, how would you say like the fans impact the like media that goes towards like um the sports side of media? So that could be like social media, broadcasting, like
Mm,
how do you think fans like influence that?
like
Like how do they
representing.
influence like what y'all focus on during like a broadcast? Like
Mm.
is there like a certain player you guys might focus on because of something that happened like on social media or anything like that? Have you had
Yeah,
any
yeah. I
experience with
mean,
that?
well, I don't know if the fans have too much sway necessarily, but they, you know, any all the fans they'll be posting and they'll be like it's like free advertising, they'll put stuff on their stories and be like this is happened, this game's happening, or like, it's a purple out, or they draw more attention to the events. And if Shefflin has a great game and Clemson posts his stat line, and fans post that on their story, um obviously you're driving a lot more attention to those particular players. And then I guess in doing so, that's what, you'll have commentators and broadcasters talking before the game being like, Ian Shefflin, he's been averaging, 15 points or whatever a game. And, that I guess it can feed into that when you have the students. It's really, yeah, the students driving that force a lot. But, you know, the players themselves, they kind of, what they do on the court kind of speaks for itself, I'd say. So,
Hey, you mentioned you all kind of work with ACC Network and ESPN as kind of father brands to
mhm.
y'all. Have you met any cool people through that, and kind of how has working with ACC Network kind of broadened your outlook on sports media?
So we are just a part of the ACC network. We're the Clemson division of it, but yeah, we are the ACC network, and um, it. I met anyone? I mean, if you listen to like Clemson radio or you watch the ACC network, like if you listen to 105.5 The Roar, you'll hear all those guys who talk like they'll come walking in and out all the time. Like when we're eating before games, when we're having our dinner, like they're coming in, they'll eat with us, you know. Or and like you'll see like Kelly Gramlich for the ACC network, she's out there on the court too. So you'll see like some local legends, I'd say, and uh as far as like, meeting cool people, but I will say it is uh, a great opportunity to go higher up if this is the career you want. Like I'm a film guy and I love sports as well, but it's a great avenue. Like if I wanted to pursue sports broadcasting at a higher level, like at ESPN, that's happened here before. There's been plenty of people who have worked here and they have done very well and they even stay after graduation and then they get job offers elsewhere. Um, like I know one guy, he got a job at Auburn, running a show over there, and another guy who was like I'm kind of a mentor. He was a little bit older than us, but he had been, he's still a young guy. He got like I think it was some offer with the SEC. He was working with them part time, and he said if he had stayed long term, he would be making up to six figures. So like it definitely leads to if you want to really pursue that and stay with it and work more and more and more, you definitely have the opportunity to go higher up in that world and the larger ESPN sports world as a whole. So
I was curious. I know you said that your major is in world cinema, and that's my minor. So I was wondering, like, in world cinema, has anything you've learned in that major kind of impacted your work with the ACC network and like within broadcasting?
it's interesting. There's not that much overlap, like really with the establishing the cameras before a game. Um, and you are kind of making, like I mentioned this earlier, you're kind of trying to make a story. They have, and if you're watching like soccer, for example, and some guy makes a game winning, he scores a game winning goal, like they're like, all right, get the hero shot, get the hero shot, like you know, you zoom in, you give this guy his glory for a few seconds, and you linger on him. So in a way, I'd say just like with the way they set up shots, we're making something in world cinema and film, and there's you're in both departments, you're building a narrative while you're doing it, while you're filming, and the different shots, you have your wide of the full field of the full court, and then you have your close-ups where all the action happens. So it's like you are trying to like piece to, through editing and all that, and again, different angles and shots, you are creating a story in a different way, obviously, but you're kind of enhancing the moment, uh, you know,
That's so
through
cool.
cameras, I'd say on the field. So yeah,
Um, I know we touched on this a little bit already, but it seems like is it necessary to be capable or expected to take on multiple different roles in your position? Like when they put you out there, you might be asked to do one thing, but is it sort of expected of you to know how to do many other things if needed in the moment?
That's a good question. So they the whole like scouting process, like they kind of the way I even got the job is I was taking like a class at the Anderson Institute of Technology in high school, and my teacher told the director of sports broadcasting, Rick Bagby, that about me, and he gave me the job offer. And you basically you shadow someone, like you show up for a day, and you can tell them what you want to do specifically. Like they'll show you what they've got going on, and you can branch out as much as you want. But you can kind of say, I'm more comfortable here. I'm more comfortable there. I'm more comfortable working camera or whatever. And and you can do that and you'll like shadow for a game someone else. And after you do that, you're thrown into the lion's den and you will do it. And sometimes it's like you are expected a lot of the time to know what you're doing. And like you don't know, like something that happens all the time is if we're doing a soccer game and someone's off sides, like and some guy on the camera isn't tracking them properly because they don't know how the soccer, I mean, I still don't fully know how it works in soccer, but like you're gonna get like yelled at like, do you not know what offsides is in soccer? Like and so you kind of sometimes you just gotta wing it, but you do need to like shadow and you'll get a chance to grasp it and you'll have whoever you're shadowing will, you know, tell you what they know. But there are times where, you know, you screw up and you get yelled at and it happens. But yeah, you get chances everywhere. And if you want to try something else after you get yelled at for when you shadow or whatever, you can, and then you'll shadow somewhere else. And yeah.
Awesome. Our last question for you is just which forms of media do you think are the most effective in what you do in terms of promoting games or events and or what have you seen have the most impact on the crowd or the fans with all the different forms of media that there are, Instagram, TikTok?
I would say Instagram first, followed by TikTok probably, because I there are like some crazy talented editors and like little video teams that work with Clemson. Like primarily, I'd say the football team, they have their own little camera crew that does like the vlogs and all that, and they are so well made, and I think they do a great job of reflecting how, I mean, they're so good. Like I feel like any outsider who's not a diehard Clemson fan will watch them and be like, wow, I mean, I want to see some of these games. Like this is really well made stuff. But yeah, I'd say Instagram. I see a lot of really good, effective advertising for sporting events across the board there. I mean, I myself, I am a fan, a casual fan as well. So I'll, you know, throw something on my story like, oh, go to this gamer. Look at this. Look what happened here. Look at this crazy play. Um, so yeah. Um, was that your question, the answer to your question or
Yes,
okay.
that was great. Thank you.
I feel like I need to butt in too and say thank you because I work with the team that makes like the vlog and stuff. So they'd be very appreciative for
Yeah,
the
they're
compliment.
amazing. I've been watching those for years. I'm not even joking.
Yeah, they're really good. They do a great job.
All right, we're getting a little low on time here. Cody, I want to thank you very much for coming on today. I'm sure we all taken away something today. I know I have. Hearing all that
Oh
was
yeah.
interesting. But yeah, thank you. We
Yeah.
appreciate you coming on.
Yeah. Thank you, Cody.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thanks for
thank
having me,
you.
guys.
Thank
Have
you.
Thank
a good
you.
day.
He definitely touched on like all like the media forms and how it actually plays into, especially when he talked about the narrative and like showing different parts of the crowd and like how it correlates to, you know, who you're shooting, where you're shooting at. That definitely was good.
Yeah, it was really interesting to me to hear about like the broadcasting side of athletics since like the stuff I do is more so like we're there at the games videoing, but then we don't actually like post the content until after the game. So it's interesting actually hearing about like live production, how they have to like be on it, be ready to go with the cameras, or you're gonna get yelled at. So at least I
Hmm.
feel like my job is a little less stressful because you can edit afterwards and then choose what you want to include or not include. So
Yeah. No, it's that high stress environment for sure.
Well, thank you for listening to the Roar Report, first edition. Stay tuned for next coming episodes. There's going to be, could get some interesting guests on here later in the semester. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.